You are listening to the Unslaved podcast. Please welcome Michael Tassarian and David Whitehead.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unslaved podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're back here once again to discuss world events, what's going on in the world around us, and what the solutions are to a lot of the problems that we face here in the West, around the world, and even as individuals. We're all individuals on our own unique journey, experiencing the world from our own very unique lens. And it's important that we start from the individual level and expand outward to what we can possibly do to bring about some positive change in the world around us, if that is even possible. So we're going to be looking into that today with our guest, Michael Black. And Michael Black, you can find him and his fantastic YouTube videos on YouTube. You can just look up Michael Black, and that's the name of his channel. And we'll get into a little bit more of his background and what got him into this work in a minute here. But just want to let everybody know we've got two Michaels on the show with us today, of course. So to make it easy for you so you don't get confused, I'll be referring to Michael Tassarian as MSAR and Michael Black as Michael. So Michael Black, welcome to the Unslaved podcast, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to both of you. I have to say it's great to have this opportunity to not only talk with yourselves, but with your audience as well. So thank you.
It's our pleasure. You're welcome, mate. Love listening to you. Yeah, I think you definitely need to get your message out as we do as well. And the title of the show, we can talk generally about so many things, and certainly want to hear about how you started. Maybe we could actually begin with that, but we can stay loosely to the theme of the topic, which is that given yourself and a lot of bloggers and vloggers that are out there, and including people like myself who've been working for years at this, do you actually see any kind of and it's not just miscellaneous changes somewhat for the better. I'm talking deeper than that. I mean a real existential change in people. We're told that all human beings are born curious. Allegedly all children are born curious until they get disaffected by parents. But is that really true? Are we really seeing that level of curiosity that then leads younger people into this material, for a start? Or just this general idea that this truth movement has been around for so long, is it justified to be saying that there really is, and everyone's crying out for solutions and so on? Is that really justified? Would you say in your work, what have you seen on your side of it to justify that it's not just a superficial changes with different orgs, like We Are Change and all these different, the Orange Group and all the, we see a lot of that happening, but is there really a deep existential change? But before we get into that, maybe could you just talk about how you actually started with this and what's your background?
Sure. Basically, I was in the British Army for a number of years, and then I worked as an intelligence analyst for an even number of years as well. So that period of my life about 15 years ago was when I came to the realization that there was an absolutely tyrannical system that was going to be imposed and was being imposed then. It was in its initial stages, if not for an extended period of time before then, probably about 160 years by my estimation. But that system was being imposed on people and is being imposed on people. And we are seeing that it is using various means and modes to accomplish its aims, including things like socialism, communism, Islamism. All of these various parts are part of the bigger machine. Now, when I first started speaking out about a lot of this, nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. And I pushed back against the system itself because I was actually very much in the corridors of power. I walked those same corridors that a lot of people today, whether it's in Whitehall or in Washington, I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. Okay, so in this day and age, what I'm actually seeing is that those initial machinations are now bearing fruit for the controllers who want to control everyone's life. And this is why we're seeing this totalitarianism creeping in, essentially. But insofar as what I can see in the present day, if anything, the problems have gotten worse in terms of people awakening or whatever it is, whatever term you want to use for that. That is not happening. So the short answer to that is no, I do not see any sort of mass awakening occurring. I can't see anyone having become smarter or more intelligent in terms of the general population. I'm speaking in generalizations here, but that is not happening. the reverse is happening. And that's something that a lot of people are struggling to grasp, at least those of us that are aware of what is going on and the intricacies of it. People have become more ignorant with time and less courageous, and cowardice is set in. And very, very few people, you can count these people, including yourselves, you can count these people on one hand. Okay, that's how many people are absolutely aware of what is happening, what is going on, who the controllers are, and why they're doing what they're doing. The rest of society cannot be bothered. Okay, they have lost their will to survive.
And if people are finding this hard to grasp, let me just ask them, because I corroborate you 100%. How many deep conversations have you had with anyone that's in your circle? And I'm talking to the audience here. I know already the answer. But again, how many deep conversations on a daily basis that really satisfy you, that nurture you, that help in your intellectual and spiritual progress could you possibly say where I walked away glowing, I walked away optimistic about the way things are going, No, rather than the great conversations you've had, the opposite is the case. You've dropped atom bombs beside people's candles only to watch out that after detonation, that candle remains unlit. That's the reality. And then aware people, like you said, have to start asking the question of the world. Why do people who know more, and by God, we're saturated with information. The experts are even saying that. And we're saturated in information of even an alternative kind. And you don't have to, like whether it's Alex Jones or all these people, we're not talking about whether you identify with these people or you don't. The very simple fact, the preponderance of information, and people are still not changing. But then on top of that, you've got the great rock music of the 60s and 70s. You've got the great British sci-fi that we on this show, emphasize, which is second to none in awakening people. You've got the great sages, the great mavericks and awakeners and savants, and philosopher types as well. You've got all of that, and yet still people are remaining in an inauthentic mode. They call themselves sheeple, but it's not derogatory actually, because that word just absolutely, well, it's not derogatory, I think, if you accept that for thousands of years, up until a very, very recent time, maybe you can talk about this, up until a very recent time, man didn't have a self. Man didn't even have a public persona or have political action groups. He was strictly under the jurisdiction of the monarch. And if it wasn't just a monarch, it was some clergy, some ecclesiastical system. He did as he was told. He absolutely was sheeple. He's been sheeple for thousands of years. That's a perfect description of the masses, because the people that you're describing, I think, want to go back to that very, that impersonal state where they don't have to take responsibility, where they're not citizens, they're subjects. And again, I repeat, they were like that. We have been subjects for thousands of years. We've been citizens for almost next to no time at all. Would you agree with that? That people would be itching for another monarch or even a political ideology and system to crawl right back into?
Oh, absolutely. The analogy I gave in one of my videos was that if you were to take a person who is completely indoctrinated by the system, be it someone who's been indoctrinated by the school system or the mainstream media or just about any other avenue of control, and you just release that person into the wild, into a completely free field, if you will, right? If you just let that person go, the very first thing they will do is ask you, what should I do? Right? That is the level of ignorance you are really dealing with on a mass scale. Now, I'm not talking about the audience here that might be watching this, or my own subscribers, or your own, or other great people that have come along on YouTube and in other places who have tried to really spark something in people that speaks to them. That's not the people that I'm talking about. The people that I'm talking about are the near on 7.2 billion. Because if you take a look in real terms, at the people that are actually paying attention, and that's what this is ultimately all about, the people who are able to concentrate and pay attention to the information that is presented to them, which is truthful, verifiable, factually correct, and logical, right? But what is happening is, even if you shower all the rest of these people with facts and information, they just refuse point blank to even consider it. And that is where the problem lies. So these are the very same people that are screaming for solutions. That's the fundamental problem. It's not the awakened individuals who are awake and aware of what is going on that are screaming for solutions. They already have the self-knowledge, the determination, and the capability and capacity to have self-sovereignty. But in terms of the general masses, they're the ones that get themselves into hot water and then scream for a savior. That is the problem. And they do this continually, because they keep looking for saviors externally, people outside of themselves, to come and save them. And these new age ideologies that are swimming around, a lot of this stuff with the subversion of Christianity, that does the same thing. People look outside of themselves for someone to save them, instead of looking to themselves to say, what tools do I have at my disposal? What understanding and knowledge do I have which I can employ in order to free myself from the very real shackles of tyranny? So unless people start doing that. Sorry, on you go.
My basic premise. Oh yeah, my basic premise, I completely concur. My basic premise is, see, because we're asking rhetorical questions. You're very, very well read. You haven't just surfed the fucking internet, excuse me, my language, but you have actually read stuff and you've gone to the source. And so have I. And my premise then has always been from the start, which makes me extremely unpopular, that the slave is complicit in his own enslavement. The Orwellian boot on the head, for the very most part, doesn't exist. It's what I call mysteria. It's certainly there, and the potential for it is there. And one has to be aware that there is that draconian form of control. But that is not what we're seeing in the Western world. So when you now look at it psychologically like that the slave is complicit as an agent in his own enslavement, that changes the entire basis and premise of everything that we'd be talking about in the alternative movement. It makes it psychological. It makes it a psychic dictatorship. That means that you have to have a psychic immunity. You see, so the whole ground has switched. And as I said, that's very unpopular. People are not going to go for that. They want to have that three-headed monster, that fear, that dread of the external. And then, because they can, as you say, bring in the external experts, the cult of the expert, which is again this whole idea of I want to not have responsibility, for the knowledge. I mean, we have emails all the time from people, hey, why are you guys not dead? I can only trust you if you're dead. If you're speaking the truth, right, then you should all be dead. The fact that you're alive proves you're a shill. Hey, isn't your logo the three fingers? Well, I haven't watched The Prisoner, and I don't know what context that is in, but I can tell you're a bunch of Satanists because you got that symbol. I don't know where it comes from or, the context, but hey, it tells me you're a Satanist, right? And the fact that you're still alive, right? You're giving truth out to people at enormous cost, and all they can work out is because you're not dead, you must be false. What do you do with that, Michael? Can you tell me what you do with that?
Well, on that particular, that accusation has never been leveled at myself, thankfully, but that's for a specific reason, and that is that I have had attempts made on my life. As currently goes, there are kill lists that have been compiled with my name on them by these various terror organizations and criminal outfits out there. That has happened. For reasons of my own safety, I don't give out my current location, for example. But I get death threats literally every day because of the things that I'm saying, because I'm unfortunately one of those people that knows names, dates, places, and where the bodies are buried. So for someone like me, it does come at a great personal cost because it's not easy to have to live the way that I have to, quite frankly. And so this accusation that people level at others, I think, is also unjustified, because there's a personal cost to anyone that is bringing information to the masses to try and shake them awake, because you're either taking financial hits for what you're doing, or you're taking emotional hits for what you're doing, or you're taking spiritual hits for what you're doing, or you're facing social